Today's hearing wrapped with the words of January 6th protesters explaining why they decided to go to the Capitol that day. They had been convinced, wrongly, of massive voter fraud. Watch this.
I know exactly what's going on right now. Fake election. They think they're going to cheat us out of our vote and put communist Biden in office. It ain't happening today, buddy.
Voted early. It went well, except for can't really trust the software, Dominion software.
200,000 people that weren't even registered voted. 430,000 votes disappeared from President Trump's tally.
But the election's being stolen. What is it going to take?
Let's welcome Chuck Hagel, former Secretary of Defense during the Obama administration. Secretary, I really appreciate you joining us tonight. Today we learned that the former president of the United States was taking advice from the allegedly drunk Rudy Giuliani. And this is over many of his top aides who tried to stop him from lying about the election. Put January 6th aside. As a former defense secretary, what red flags does this raise about our national security? Then throughout the Trump presidency, he operated this way.
Well, he did operate this way over his 4 years as president, unfortunately. But your question about the red flags for Defense Department, and more than that, our country. The United States military never, ever should be involved in any kind of political actions, especially elections. And that's not their role. And they can be maneuvered and manipulated and used, like he tried to do that. But more to the point, too, is that his administration during this period on January 6th, other than Mike Pence, the vice president, making some calls to the Pentagon and other responsible officials to do something about it, as there were now we know numerous calls and emails sent directly to the president to do something to stop it. So I think the more the American people are enlightened by the results of what the findings of the January 6th committee have been, and sharing those findings with the American people are absolutely critical for the understanding of our citizenry, what happened, what actually happened based on facts. And second, how do we make assure in every way we can, with any new measurements we need to implement, that this doesn't happen again? Yes, I know it's based on who is in the White House, who the leaders are. But more to the point here, too, is the American citizens have a responsibility to select the right leaders, and they've got to pay attention to the facts. Facts are important. Leadership matters.
Then to that enlightenment you talked about, retired General Russell Honore says now he is convinced Trump directed, helped orchestrate, and motivated the attack on the Capitol. Is he right?
I think he is right, not because he said it or anybody else said it, but based on the facts, based on what the January 6th committee has already provided the American people, and there are more hearings. So the facts speak for themselves, and especially when you look at many of the witnesses who are Trump cabinet members, White House officials in the Trump administration, supporters of Mr. Trump. I mean, that's pretty devastating and pretty clear from the Trump people themselves what happened on that day and who was responsible for maneuvering that and the violence that led up to it, and who really engaged it and manipulated Mr. Trump, manipulated his followers to engage in this.
You recently co-signed an opinion piece for USA Today that said this is no time for a partisan circus. It argued that these hearings should not be used by anyone as an opportunity to score political points. How do you think the committee is doing that?
Well, first of all, we recognize that this is a issue that's like handling nitroglycerin. And we all know the deep divide in this country, political divide, the polarization. President Trump's supporters haven't believed anything that's been said in the last year and a half about what happened January 6th. I don't think you're going to convince many of his supporters any differently. But what's important here for the history of this country and the facts as they have been presented are critically important. I think the committee is doing a pretty good job with it. It's a tough job to do. And the charge about why do we have to go back and replay this on January 6th, we've got terrible problems in this country today, inflation and so many others, gasoline prices. Why aren't we focused on that? Well, we're focused on that, too. Of course, we are. The president has to be. The government has to be. But you can't dismiss something like this. This was historic, what happened on January 6th.
Then let me ask you about elected officials, Republicans, and the big lie. Because we heard today from several, you pointed it out, Trump-appointed insiders, including Bill Barr, who knew that Trump was lying. They knew full well he lost the election. Yet 147 House Republicans still voted against the Electoral College certification on January 6th. What does that tell you about the current GOP?
Well, I don't know what the current GOP is about, what it stands for. I'm still a Republican. I'm not sure probably why. I don't know what they stand for. But there are enough Republicans out there who are against how Trump governed this country and the lies and the deceit and the disinformation, misinformation that came out of the Trump White House, came out of his mouth. And that continues to this day, especially with the lie, the big lie that Mr. Biden and the Democrats stole the election. That's untrue. So I think the GOP is in a lot of trouble. And I do think, in an encouraging sign, I think the strong control that Mr. Trump has exercised over the Republican Party is dwindling. I think it's eroding. I think you're seeing that in a lot of different states. I mean, for example, my state, Nebraska, his candidate for governor lost. Trump, went against a lot of the Republican officials in Nebraska, saying, you got to support my candidate. Well, Nebraska Republicans did not support his candidate. They supported another candidate who is well qualified and a very good person. And if he's elected, he'll make a good governor. This is happening in other states where his candidates for these high offices are losing. But yet he's threatened everybody. That hurts the Republican Party. But in a way, at least my thinking, it helps the Republican Party because the Republican Party will come back. No one person should ever govern a party. That's not the point of political parties. Political parties must be diverse, have different opinions. That's healthy. That's American. You want that. I've never known anybody in my life or any party or any institution that has all the answers and everybody else is wrong.
Then, sir, in some weird way, is this working out best for those Republicans who are still Republicans, but they want to take the party back and remove Trump from it? Are they the ones who are actually going to get what they want the most here? Well,
I don't know if I'd phrase it that way. I think what they will get, and I've already noted at least my thinking on this, is a Republican Party that's flexible, that doesn't push people out, that doesn't believe absolutely in one piece of a Republican Party, the philosophy of a political party. I think you'll see that happen over the next few years because of this.
Secretary Hagel, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing all your insights. I appreciate it.